So, our next point of discussion is also very important to the examination purpose. Students must be very careful. Oedipus the King, Episode 5. CU and SU are ignored, argue in our universities. Discuss the theme of sight and blindness in Oedipus the King, how it is important, how it affects the idea of truth. Blindness. Oh, it is a terrible when the one who does the judging judges things all wrong. It is true. The realization is true. The practical implication is also true. There's nothing in it that makes us wonder as to what is it that it means to say. Of course, in everything that we do is blindness. Oh, it is terrible when the one who does the judging judges things all wrong. Early in Antigone, a sentry calls, a sentry tells Creon that someone has buried Polynesius' body despite Creon's law forbidding such an action. Creon does not take the news well and immediately blames the sentry, accusing him of breaking the law himself for money. Here, the sentry's response to the accusation foreshadows one of the trilogy's unifying themes. Humans often see things incorrectly. Blindness in these plays is both literal and figurative. Significant characters in each play do not see the truth, as they are often blinded by their own pride and strong will. Bind as you are, you can feel all the more what sickness haunts our city. You, may Lord, are the one shield, the one savior one can find. Here Oedipus speaks to the blind prophet Tiresias. So that is very important to be noted by all the students. Who is speaking to him? Whom? Because the process of speaking is very much indicative of what is to happen. Here, Oedipus speaks the blind prophet Tiresias, who, despite his blindness, can see the truth. This line is the first of many in Oedipus the King that indicates how characters who are literally blind can see the truth better than the characters with sight. When Oedipus asks him to reveal Laius' murderer, Tiresias refuses to answer and instead asks Oedipus to send him home. Oedipus refuses the request and forces Tiresias to reveal what he knows. Tiresias' explanation that Oedipus himself is the corruption triggers the rest of the play action. So you mock my blindness, let me tell you this. You, with your precious eyes, you're blind to the corruption of your life, to the house you live in, those you love with. Tiresias finally lets Oedipus hear the truth for which he has predicted. Tiresias predicted that once Oedipus sees the truth of his life, he will scream in agony. At this point in this play, the details are yet to be revealed. But Tiresias' words foreshadows exactly what will happen. Oedipus accuses Tiresias of speaking absurd filth and that dismisses Tiresias' words entirely because they are too painful to bear. Not a man on earth can see a dead ahead, groping through the dark. Better to live at random, best we can. So that is the way at times we take things to be. Jocasta, Oedipus's mother and wife, tries desperately to talk Oedipus out of believing the unfolding truth about his origin and his life. She begs him to live in the present moment, ignoring both the prophecies of the past and the inevitabilities of the future. She even suggests that most men have imagined sleeping with their mothers, which became the source of the term Oedipus complex, first used by psychologist Sigmund Freud. The theme that human life is nothing more than growth through the grass prevails throughout the trilogy, but its expression is never more poignant than at this moment. Oh, blind, blind, poor man, no eyes, no sight. Tell me, were you blind from birth? Your life a life of pain, and the year long it's all too clear. The chorus speaks these lines to Oedipus, early in Oedipus at Colonus. In this play, and now, physically blind Oedipus is guided by his daughter Antigone. The chorus does not recognize Oedipus as the king he once there he was. The simple questions whether Oedipus was blind to the birth is loaded with meaning. In fact, he was metaphorically blind to the truth of his birth. For much of his life, when Oedipus finally learned the truth, he physically blinded himself by poking out his eyes with the long gold pins from his dead mother's brooches. So, blindness is an important theme in Oedipus that we study today. Why it is important? Because there are numerous related references to vision. Inside vision used both literally and metaphorically in the play. Oedipus, king of the Thebes, he must have done wrong, or the wrong that has been committed unknowingly, has physical sight but is blind to his background. He is the mother of the layers. He has married his mother and he has unwittingly fulfilled Apollo's prophecy. The theme of blindness comes to the forefront in the play when Oedipus calls upon the blind prophet Tiresias. But will Tiresias, what way of proving himself, will really turn out to be true? Thebes has been suffering a plague, and Creon has found from the oracle that the long unsolved murder of a former king is what is to be taken for granted. Now, layers has to be solved because the killer must be ousted from the Thames in order to eliminate the land's pollution in the hopes that he can provide even more direction. Oedipus asks the renowned Tiresias to consult with him about the oracle. Tiresias again is physically blind and needs the young boy to lead him to Oedipus. Tiresias is hesitant to reveal what he knows, but Oedipus presses him. But as you are blind, you can feel all the more what sickness haunts our city. You, my lord, are the one shield, the one savior we can find. Here Oedipus speaks to the blind prophet Tiresias, who, despite his blindness, can see the truth. This line is the first of many in Oedipus, the king, that indicate how characters who are literally blind can see the truth better than the characters in the sight. When Oedipus asks him to reveal Laius' murderer, Tiresias refuses to answer and instead asks Oedipus to send him home. Oedipus refuses the request and forces Tiresias to reveal what he knows. Tiresias' explanation that Oedipus himself is the corruption triggers the rest of the play action. So you must mock my blindness. Let me tell you this. You, with your precious eyes, you're blind to the corruption of your life, to the house you live in, those you live with. Tiresias finally lets Oedipus hear the truth for which he has begged. And when he finally speaks it aloud, he holds nothing back. Tiresias predicts that once Oedipus sees the truth of his life, he will scream. He will scream because the truth he'll have to bear in agony. At this point in the play, the details are yet to be revealed, but Tiresias' words foreshadow exactly what will happen. Oedipus accuses Tiresias of speaking an absurd filth and dismisses Tiresias' words entirely because they are too painful to bear. Not a man on earth can see a day ahead. Groping through the dark, better to live at random best we can. Jocasta, Oedipus's mother and wife, tries desperately to talk Oedipus out of believing the unfolding truth about his origin and his life. She begs him to live in the present moment, ignoring both the prophecies of the past and the inevitabilities of their future. She even suggests that most men have imagined sleeping with their mothers, which became the source of the term Oedipus complex, first used by psychologist Sigmund Freud. The theme that human life is nothing more than a grope through the dark prevails throughout the trilogy, but its expression is never more poignant than at this moment. Eventually, Tiresias accuses the Oedipus of being the murderer he seeks. Oedipus quickly becomes angry and pokes fun at the prophet and his blindness. Tiresias tells him to go. You have your eyes, but see not where you are in sin. So this usually happens when at times we, when at times we are unable to see ourselves in sin, nor where you live, nor whom you live with. Do you know who your parents are? Unknowing, you're an enemy to kith and kin, a deadly footed double striking curse from father and mother both shall drive you forth out of this land with the darkness in your eyes that now have straight vision. Tiresias brings up a central conflict, Oedipus's lack of self-knowledge, and describes it in terms of physical and metaphorical blindness. Oedipus lacks of insight, his ignorance to the deeds he has committed and to the truth of his birth is ironic given that Oedipus is capable of physical sight. Tiresias, on the other hand, is literally blind, but because more about Oedipus than Oedipus can see in himself. Tiresias also makes a key prediction here. He thinks that Oedipus will be banished from Thales with darkness in his final eyes. This does indeed happen at the end of the play. Once Oedipus learns the truth of his parentage and that he is the killer of Laius, his father, he binds himself by gouging his eyes out. He does not want to literally see his parents in the underworld of the city that he has wronged. Now that Oedipus' insight or metaphorical vision, he no longer wants physical or literal sight. Once Oedipus's position has been reversed by the end of the play. One way to approach answering this question is to look at Oedipus and Tiresias, the blind prophet. Although Oedipus, who has the physical ability to see, believes that he can discover the truth about the identity of King Diaz's murder, he is blind to the fact that he himself is guilty. He is also aware that he has instead indeed fulfilled another part of the prophecy. He tried to escape, married his mother. Tiresias, on the other hand, is physically blind, but he has the ability to see. Metaphorically, he can make predictions. He also knows the truth about Oedipus' identity, but the old seer doesn't want to reveal this painful reality. When Oedipus discovers the awful truth, he gouges out his eyes, thus physically blinding himself to the reality around him. He cannot bear to look at the children he has sired, knowing they are his half siblings. The play is full of references to the sight and blindness, to the light and dark imagery, and of course, all of these have been made possible because about the truth being a matter of perception. এক্সিট করে বেরিয়ে যায়